Hopefully everybody's doing well today. It's still early. Still, it's a little overcast over here in California, SoCal, Southern California. Um, I just wanted to share something with you guys. So I had a bunch of weird dreams last night, but when I woke up this morning, I started thinking about, like, some of them had to do with projects that were going on and things that I've been writing and some podcasts. So it's just like creativity was kind of on overload last night. And I woke up this morning and I was thinking, man, I can't believe that, like, this is where I'm at in my life right now, where I'm working on projects. One of the projects I just worked on just got released, and then I was talking with the director, J.R. Sawyer, which said he has another movie that he's working on right now, so that potentially this year we'll shoot another one together, which would be really, really cool. So there was just like all this creative juice and energy, and I woke up this morning thinking, man, how far in the last couple years have I come, and that my life has really changed. And it made me go back to thinking, like, what started this all. And maybe I could share this with you, because I really thought about it this morning. I was driving, and I dropped off my son to school, and I was thinking, man, this love for film and this love for filmmaking now has become, a part of my life. And it's something that I'm either actively working on other people's projects, or now working on writing my own projects and being more creative and writing almost every day right now. And I am not the greatest writer, you guys, so I will admit to that. I'm learning right now, but it's become part of my world. And so what I wanted to share today with you guys is why I got started with this to begin with. Like, why it took me a while to kind of understand this the last few years, like what keeps pulling me, because it feels like a magnet. It feels like it's pulling me to filmmaking. It's pulling me to to being in this creative space and in this creative environment. Something's pulling me, and I think for a big portion of my life I ignored it, which I'll share that later, and how I got into a career that I didn't really care about. But I want to share where it started. So first of all, before I even share my story, if you are a filmmaker or you aspire to be a filmmaker, in the comments below, let me know why. Because I want to share my why. I want to share the moment where I recognize that something changed in my life. And I think the path for me to become a filmmaker started. And it started really, really early. And so one, why did you want to become a filmmaker or be involved in films? And then what would you want to do? Is it, do you want to act? Do you want to direct? Do you want to set design? Do you want to write? What is it about filmmaking that interests you the most? And I will tell you this, so that way, being on the inside and seeing how all of this works, you don't have to be just one. You don't have to be just a writer. You don't have to be just an actor. You don't have to be just a set designer or a director. I met people, or editor. I met people on set that do all of them. It's just crazy. And I'm like, it broke my perception that you have to just be one. If you're an actor, oh, you're just an actor. No, a lot of people in the creative space are actors, and then they direct their own. They might be acting on this project, and then they direct their own project. Or they may write another a screenplay for somebody else to direct. It's so that creative space, it isn't just one lane. I want to say that was my perception before I stepped onto a set, that everyone just has their one thing that they do. And then I was shocked to realize everyone does everything. Like, especially when you're a brand new filmmaker, you have to figure out how to do all of it. So let me share this quick story about what changed my life. The more I thought about it, I realized when I was about 8 years old, I watched a movie that changed my life. And it's probably an extremely iconic movie. And if you haven't seen this, you've been under a rock. Maybe the newer generation hasn't seen it, but the movie Back to the Future changed my life. And the more I thought about it, like I was thinking about this morning, like why it changed my life, is because when I saw that movie, I didn't see it as a movie of just like, wow, that was really cool. It opened my mind. It almost unlocked something. It opened my mind to a couple of things. Like, one, how did they create this story to jump back through times, right? And then to the makeup changes and all this other stuff. So instead of looking at it through just like a pure enjoyment, I was starting to dissect it to try to understand, like, how did they shoot this? How did they make people look younger and older? You know, they travel back in time. How did they do certain special effects that we had never seen before at that time with the DeLorean going and, you know, all of that stuff? It really unlocked me asking a lot of questions. And and it's so weird to look back on that film now because I see so many things. I see the lighting, I see the blocking of the scene, I see uh like all of the technical stuff, you know, like an over the shoulder shot. I see them. I don't know. I just see a lot of technical things. But even at the age of 8, it unlocked this question about how are these movies made, and it kind of took me on that journey for the next couple of years. My fascination with films, especially at the time, like sci-fi, you know, you had my brothers were into Star Wars and all that. So then watching those two, like, it just really unlocked that you can create these worlds that don't exist. And I think that was the first movie I remember recognizing that this wasn't, you know, like a real world. It was a fantasy world that was created and manufactured through set design, through prosthetics, through, and I was like 8 and I started to recognize this, and it just really opened up my mind to want to understand and to want to learn about film and to start, I want to say, like, start to gravitate towards wanting to do that. And as I got a little bit older, then I originally, like, what I started wanting to do is like, you know what, I want to be an actor, I want to do things, I want to be in commercials, I wanted to do. And so I kind of went down that route in my late teens or whatever, and I just wasn't committed. I wanted to have fun with my friends, I didn't want to do that stuff, you know. So I mean, I did it. I took a lot of on camera workshops and things to kind of get around that, but I felt like it wasn't the right time for me. And as I got out of high school, I realized that I wanted to go into film school. Like, I still had that bug. I still had that fascination with movies, especially horror films for some reason. When I was younger, with all the blood and gore and all that, like, I was really fascinated with it, and I wanted to go to school for filmmaking. And although I had already started at college or whatever, I was doing whatever I was supposed to be, or what I was told to do, or whatever I was supposed to follow some path, you know. And so, but at the heart, I really wanted to go to film school, and I realized that at the moment that I wanted to, I had my oldest son, Brian, which definitely changed my life, gave me purpose in my life. But that dream kind of got put on a shelf for a little while. And so, you know, I need to be a responsible parent. But the hopes and dreams, like all those questions about how films were made, what was it like? What is set life like? What does a director actually do? Like, it seems like from the outside, well, clearly they just tell people what to do. But when you're on set and you actually see what a director does, it's like he's bringing this entire vision to life, to how you want the audience to feel, like how the cameras are going to work when you have, you know, you work with your DP to create these scenes. And so I just learned, man, on set, like what I thought filmmaking was about was completely broken when I stepped into film to see, like, wow, there's so much more. It's so much more complicated, and everyone has a specific role. And so I waited about a couple decades, like 20 years, to finally get my chance to chase that dream and to really experience what it's like to be on set. And I will share this before I get going, because this is usually going to be, you know, I try to keep my live streams not too long. But as an 8-year-old boy, wondering what it was going to be like, and and hoping to someday get there, hoping someday to work on a film set. Just a couple years ago, I remember still feeling like that the first time I stepped on a set. And something interesting happened to me when I stepped on set, because it was crazy. I mean, there was all this stuff going on, and all these pieces were moving. And I just got like pulled into it like a hurricane, right? But I remember for the first time when I stepped on a set, I felt at home. And I don't know how to explain that. I don't know how to explain it, because I had a successful career prior, and I was comfortable and I was successful, but it never felt like home. It almost felt like I was living someone else's life. And when I stepped on a set for the first time, I remember feeling like emotional, but I didn't show it. I'm like, don't cry here on the set, But I felt emotional because I felt in my core and in my soul that magnet that had been pulling me for almost my entire adult life, it finally landed somewhere. And I was like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be at. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I still had no idea what I wanted to do. But the more I look back on my life, some of my friends have told me this, and because I didn't really think about it, I've always wanted to create. And I have, in different projects and student projects. And I've always been the person that starts to create or to bring some vision to life in some form or another, whether it's student projects in high school, creative projects. Like, for whatever reason, that seemed to be kind of like my natural knack, was to do that. Not knowing how that would lead me eventually to YouTube and lead me to filmmaking, but it was just kind of always there. And so I don't know what created that, what caused that. I honestly don't know. Looking back, I just know it was always there. And the older I got and the deeper I got into my career, I started recognizing that gravitational pull towards what I now understand was filmmaking got louder and louder and stronger until I couldn't ignore it anymore, and I had to do something, and I had to take action to kind of figure out, I have to chase this. And it was scary. It was really scary. Sometimes it still is scary. That's what I want to tell you guys, is sometimes it's unpredictable. Even just like yesterday, just emailing JR to tell him, hey, great job on a trip elsewhere or whatever. And then you get an email saying, that maybe there's potential projects. This is kind of like how this whole world kind of works in the film. You just never know what's going to happen next. So in the meantime, you got to stay active. You got to stay creative. You got to do it yourself if you have to. If you have to start creating your own projects and writing your own projects, that's what you got to do. But just looking back on like what started this for me at such a young age, I kind of feel like it finally became, went full circle for me. And so I wonder with you guys out there, for those of you watching this wanting to get into filmmaking, like, what was your starting point? Like, what happened? Because everybody has a different story. And everyone that I ask on set, like, how did you get into this, it's completely different. Some people were loved drama and loved films and were in the drama club, while other people had friends that were working on films and they got pulled into it, and then they found a love for it. A lot of people, the DPs always had a fascination with film. Everyone I talked to had a fascination with films at such a young age. And it was weird, right? I think actually hearing them share their stories is when I started realizing, wait a minute, that actually happened to me too. I just didn't realize it. I never thought back to connect the dots like that. But every single one of them had a passion for films at a young age, even if it's in their teenage years. And then some of them just naturally started filmmaking at a young age too. And so some people have known it their whole life. and some people figure it out late. But what I've learned is it doesn't really matter when you find it. It doesn't matter. You can get started now, and it's never too late. It's never too late to start chasing a dream. It's never too late to get into filmmaking. And just know, like, you can, well, here's what I want to say, because I don't want to get emotional. That's what I'm holding back so that I don't get emotional in this, is in this world of filmmaking, there are no rules. So it doesn't matter if you've been doing it for 25 years. It doesn't matter if you've been doing it for 2 years. There's no rules. And so just get started. And I remember that feeling, like when I first got started and I showed up on set, and I'm like 40 years old on set with a bunch of 20-year-olds, you know, and feeling like, did I miss the boat? Did I jump on board too late? And then we just had an awesome set, and it was great. And like, age was not the factor. It was more of me thinking age was a factor. It's about, like, it's a community. You're working together. You're making things happen together. The age and stuff doesn't matter. Your drive and your ambition and your willingness to learn is what matters. And so I often think back, like, when I first got into this 4 years ago, like, should I go to film school? Should I do that? Should I? And for me, it was kind of like, man, I just paid off all of my student loan. Actually, I didn't pay them off. That's a different story about what happened with me. But anyways, I had all these loans and stuff. And do I really want to do that over again? No. And so for me, it was just like, let's just keep working on sets. And you're going to have to learn a very steep learning curve while in the fire. And that's very, very challenging, very difficult. It was difficult for me because my learning curve was like, can you go grab this? Can you grab that? I don't even know what it is. I'm like, what's that? You know, like, whatever. I forgot what it was, what they were telling me to get. Go get the flags and get this and get the pancakes. And then you're like, pancakes? What the hell is that? You know? So I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. But what I'm saying is that it's never too late. Your learning curve just may be a little steeper, but if you're hungry and you're humble, then you can do it. Like, you really can. So that's it, man. That's my story. 8 years old. The movie Back to the Future changed my life, opened my eyes to filmmaking in such a weird, like, looking back at 8 years old, like, dissecting how this film was shot. Like, it's just so weird. Like, I think about that, it's just so weird for me. But it makes sense. It really makes sense, because I still feel like that. I'm still like that, still dissecting things, still analyzing, still trying to understand the camera shots. But starting at the age of 8, it sent me on the trajectory of where I'm at now. I just wish I would have chased it sooner. But hey, we all have a different path, and this was my path. And I'm looking forward to finally shooting my own projects this year. So I'll keep you updated on that. And with that being said, I'm going to let you guys go because I got to get back to work. I got to drive today. So, all right, guys, we'll see you later. If you have any questions, comments, leave them below. Please subscribe, hit that like button, hit the notification so you can get the live streams when they come out. And I'm trying to be more consistent around the time as well. And I'm just trying to make sure that I do that. So, all right, guys, have a good one. Have a good day. I'll talk to you later.